What's going on, everyone? The Denver Nuggets are officially the NBA champions and won their first ever NBA championship. And it just kind of felt like it was their year, right? Number one seed in the Western Conference, pretty much ran through everybody in the West, including the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference, to win the NBA championship. Miami never really felt like they had a chance to begin with. I even said this on As It Stands Sports, watching that series. It kind of felt like a freshman or sophomore high school team playing a college team. They were just outsized, outmanned, out-talented. They had, that couple guys that were pretty good, but the role guys weren't really there. Denver didn't really play well at all this pretty much the entire series, and still pretty much won every game. The only game that they lost was when like Murray and Jokic were like combined 6 for 25 or something crazy like that. But outside of that, Denver definitely deserves credit. But there are a lot of people that question kind of the path that Denver took to winning the NBA championship. I've seen a lot of talk about how, they beat the 8th seed Timberwolves, the 4th seed Suns, 7th seed Lakers, and the 8th seed Heat. Like, how credible is this championship? But like I've always said, I don't think that there are real asterisks in sports and winning championships, right? Because your job is to beat the team in front of you, right? It doesn't matter who it is, right? Like the 8th seed Timberwolves got to that position. They were the team that earned that and deserved that spot. Denver has to play the team in front of them, and they ran through them. Same thing with the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns did their job, won that round, went and played the Denver Nuggets, and Denver ran through them. Same thing with the Lakers. Lakers, yes, they were the 7th seed, but they did their job. They beat the 2 seed, beat the 6 seed Warriors, the defending champions, and then played the Denver Nuggets, and Denver ran through them. And then same thing with the Heat. The Heat, they had an incredible run, right? They beat the 1 seed Bucks, they beat the Knicks, and then they end up beating the number 2 seed Boston Celtics, and end up playing the Denver Nuggets, and Denver ran through them. So, look, Denver's job, again, is to beat the teams that are in front of you, right? And they did that. So I don't really knock them. I don't discredit their championship. They earned it. They were the team that was the best team all year in the Western Conference. They ran through everybody. It wasn't like they were playing 7-game series the whole time. No, they did their job. They did their part. And Miami ended up losing in 5. And again, got ran through. The Phoenix Suns, right? Many people look at the Phoenix Suns as the team that gave them the toughest challenge, right? Because they got 2 games from them. But a couple things about that. One, Devin Booker shot like 80% or 75% or something like that from the field. He literally had a once in a lifetime, had never happened before, historic level run. And eventually he cooled off. The Phoenix Suns never really looked like they had a chance. They just didn't. They were just shooting historically great, like ridiculously great. And it was like, are they really going to be able to maintain this? And as soon as they stopped maintaining that, that was it. The series was over, and they got ran through and lost in 6. But they were shooting historically great, even in the first 2 games that they ended up losing. So it was like Denver, it would need more than just the historic great shooting for the Phoenix Suns to even have a chance. Now, maybe next year with the right tools and adjustments and players and new coaching and stuff, maybe they'll actually be able to beat the Denver Nuggets. I don't think the Denver Nuggets are unbeatable. I've seen talks about, like, is Denver the new dynasty? Is Denver this? That? Like, Denver, don't get me wrong, is a very good team, but they weren't so light years away from everybody else. This wasn't the Warriors with Kevin Durant where it was like, yeah, nobody's beating Denver. Like, Denver was very beatable, and it just was their year. They had a great just foundation offensively, defensively. They weren't the greatest team, which usually defense wins championships, but nobody they faced was really that good defensively outside of the Lakers, and the Lakers couldn't really stop Denver. So again, you got to credit Denver's offense for that. But in my opinion, the Lakers gave Denver the toughest challenge. So the Lakers were the best offensive team against Denver, which was super surprising because, again, the Lakers were not the better offensive team than some of these other guys that they played, right? And yes, I understand that people are going to look at this and go, the Lakers got swept. Denver swept the Lakers. Like, no, they weren't the best. Again, when you look at everything and you take a step back, remove some biases, and actually look at the games and look at how things unfolded, The Lakers could have swept the Denver Nuggets. I mean, 3 out of the 4 games were decided by less than 20 points total. Literally, you had a 6-point difference in game 1. You had a 5-point difference in game 2. You had a 2-point difference in game 3. That's 13 points. That's a 13-point difference. And then if you add game 3, which Nuggets won by 11, then that's still only 24. So all 4 games were decided by 24 points total. And the Lakers had several opportunities in all of those games to win. Had leads late in 3 out of those 4 games. Had opportunities to close out down the stretch, and they just couldn't. Denver also, in every statistical category, played their best games against the Lakers, and the Lakers were still there to win it. Just, again, you got to credit Denver because Denver was able to close out and execute. But the gap between the Lakers and the Nuggets was not very high. Like, there was a clear, when you watched the Denver and you watched the Minnesota game, it was like, yeah, Minnesota does not have a chance at all. Like, they're going to get ran through. You saw the same thing with the Phoenix Suns. Again, if you actually watched those games, you were like, Phoenix isn't winning the series. This series is done. And same thing with the Miami series. After game 1, you were like, Miami doesn't have a chance. But when you watched the Laker games and you saw, even after they went down 2-0, it was like, no, the Lakers might be right there with Denver, right? Like, especially after game 1, like Denver played as perfect of a game as you could in game 1, and the Lakers had a chance to beat them. Like, down the stretch, if they just closed out and hit a couple shots, and, Jokic wasn't making some Hail Mary over the head, just catapult shots, and Murray isn't just jacking up some crazy, they couldn't miss in that game, and the Lakers still had a chance. In all of those games, they had a chance. Again, credit Denver. Denver closed out. Denver did their job down the stretch. Denver won the series, and they swept the Lakers. They absolutely did. I'm not trying to take away from what Denver did at all. But that series was a lot closer than a sweep. It's just, again, the Lakers failed to execute down the stretch. If D'Angelo Russell gave them 15 points per game, the Lakers win that series. If Dennis Schroeder gives them 15 points per game, they win that series. Again, the entire series as a whole was decided by 24 points. And on top of that, the Lakers had double-digit leads in like 3 out of those 4 games, had late game leads in several of those games, and just failed to close down the stretch. Otherwise, the Lakers probably win that series. And if they had another guy that could provide that scoring load, with as great as Denver played, again, go look up the stats, go look up everything. Denver played harder, better, more efficient, more effective, everything. They played their best series against the Lakers and never let up against the Lakers. They let up against Minnesota. They let up against the Phoenix Suns, and they let up pretty much the whole series against Miami. Now, some of that is probably they just were like, hey, the Lakers have LeBron James, Anthony Davis. They can beat us, right? Where maybe they saw Miami and they're just like, yeah, Miami isn't going to beat. Even Mike Malone said some stuff during the course of that Miami series that was kind of alluding to that, of like, hey, I'm trying to keep my guys focused. I want them to understand we can't let up. We can't take these guys easy. Like, the whole time that Mike Malone was playing against the Lakers, all Mike Malone did was talk about the Lakers and how, they're this and that. And like, it was like a scorned girlfriend just berating the ex or whatever, right? Like, it was hilarious at times. That just the constant conversation. And then even after the Lakers series, kept talking about the Lakers. The Lakers were in their head. It's just Denver outplayed. Murray and Jokic outplayed Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Like, that was essentially what decided this. And then LeBron James tried to put on some heroics in that 4th game. But at that point, the series was over regardless. Even if the Lakers won that game, they weren't coming back down 3-0, right? Like, they had their chances, and they just failed to execute down the stretch, and they lost that series. So again, credit Denver, but you got to take account, LeBron James needs foot surgery. So how would this series have looked if LeBron James was healthy? Anthony Davis was dealing with a foot injury. How would this have looked if Anthony Davis wasn't dealing with a foot injury? And even D'Angelo Russell, although I don't think it was entirely to blame on the foot injury, D'Angelo Russell was dealing with a foot injury as well. But again, it's not an excuse. That's just the reality. Denver still did their job. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Denver's job is to beat the team in front of them. It doesn't matter what's going on. Like, Denver didn't purposely cause all those issues. No. And the Lakers were still able to beat the Warriors with all those same elements, and they were able to beat the Memphis Grizzlies with all those same elements. The Lakers just failed to show up and do their job against Denver like they did against the Golden State Warriors and like they did against the Memphis Grizzlies. The Lakers lost that series, without a doubt. Like, Denver was the team that executed and did everything to perfection, and the Lakers didn't. But it wasn't like the disparity in, like, just talent level, size, all that stuff. It wasn't that big. Not at all. Right? Like, those were two pretty evenly matched teams. And it came down to several plays down the course of the stretch of the game, and Denver executed, and the Lakers didn't. And the Lakers also were a team that only played like 10 games healthy during the regular season together. Denver was a team that has been together for years, and you saw that. They had the better chemistry. They had all those things, and the Lakers were still able to fight and be in all of those games. I mean, even the Suns games, most of those games were pretty much over by like halftime. You know, like that was the big difference. And so I really do think when you really look at how these series played out, and you look at just the differences in like the talent level compared to Denver and the Suns, or Denver and the Timberwolves, and Denver and the Heat, the Lakers were right there. And the reason I'm even talking about this and bringing it up, period, is because like the Lakers, I don't think need much in order to be holding that trophy next year, right? A lot of these teams are going to be the exact same team. Phoenix is going to make a couple adjustments and stuff, but they're going to have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, right? Like, that's their core guys. Whatever happens with Ayton, whatever happens with Chris Paul, we'll see. But it's going to be those two guys and then some hopefully added depth for them. But the Nuggets are going to be basically the same. The Grizzlies are basically going to be the same. They're probably going to be worse because all the Ja Morant stuff, and it's going to be interesting how that plays out. But like the Warriors, they might end up blowing everything up. We'll see how that goes. But again, the Lakers made it to the Western Conference Finals, won their first two rounds pretty handily, and went to Denver and felt like they were a team that, I mean, most people took the Lakers to win because the Lakers should have won that series. And even when the Lakers got behind, many people still took the Lakers to win because it was like, no, like this isn't that far off. Like Denver isn't that much better. Like you watch the Phoenix. Again, if you look at the 6 games, game 1, the Phoenix Suns lost by 18 points. In game 1 by itself, they won by almost as many points as the Lakers series entirely. Game 2, they won by 10. Denver won by an average of 12 points per game against the Phoenix Suns for a team that beat them twice. And the 2 games that they lost, they barely lost. Again, it's just Devin Booker shot historically and shot insane. Again, the Minnesota thing was the same thing. This Miami series, they played terrible in this Miami series and won by like an average of 8 points, 9 points per game. But when you look at the Lakers series, they won by an average of like 5 because they were all down the stretch. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. Love to hear it. Let me know.